Welcome back to the Brandon Alper Experience. This is episode number 29 or 30. I really don't know. We're starting to get up there. But right next to me, I have Ryan Walker. Very excited to see him again. We used to be friends in middle school, kind of fell off a little bit, but obviously we keep talking every once in a while. And we had this plan to film the podcast just because both of us have some big dreams. He's obviously got his shit going on TikTok, got a few businesses that he's running, and also just graduated high school. So I guess we'll just start off by actually talking about the high school experience, and then we'll get into everything else. But yeah, let's talk about what your plans are for the future.
Ooh. All right. I don't know which question to answer first, the high school experience or my goals for the future.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really say that properly. We'll talk about high school experience, and then, yeah.
High school experience. It was cool, but once you start getting big into anything entrepreneurial, it kind of gets in the way, especially when you start, hitting on it and you start growing on social media where your business starts growing, but you still have to show up to the classroom and go there 8 hours a day. Gets in the way, gets boring, feels like a waste of time. So, yeah, I don't know. Overall, nah, not really for me.
Overall, not really for you.
Yeah.
What really bothered you about the entire experience in general? Like, that kind of makes you excited to get out of it?
Most of the stuff that you're learning in there is just, outdated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of it I'll never use in my day-to-day life. History class is useful, I guess, because you get to, learn about the mistakes of others and stuff. But even then, you're learning about, weird shit. Not even, I was going to say the Industrial Revolution, but it's not like that's a bad thing to know. It's just, you just learn about, just dumb shit. You just learn about shit that doesn't matter. So, I don't know. I never learned anything about taxes or, damn, it's going to sound so cliche. But
let me hear it. I don't care.
It's going to sound like you didn't learn anything about taxes, never really learned anything about, how to properly lift or deep nutrition or anything like that, things that actually matter in your day-to-day life. So, it just felt outdated. It felt like a waste of time. And I felt like I learned more from YouTube and books and just talking to people that were out in the real world. I learned more from them than I ever did in a classroom, especially as I got older. So, yeah.
Who were you talking to? Because when I was in high school, I kind of had a close-knit group of friends that I was really only talking to. But since you have such a big presence online, who has that caused you to meet, and what connections has that caused you to make with these kinds of people that you can talk about those things with?
So, at first, when you try and connect on social media, everybody talks about networking and stuff. If you don't have some sort of relevancy, social media following wise, you don't have a good size following, no one gives a fuck what you have to say or wants to connect with you. So it didn't really start happening until later, towards my junior year of high school, when I got around 500,000 followers. I started meeting entrepreneurs in Miami and stuff like that. Am I allowed to name drop?
Yeah.
Okay. Alex Sedlak and stuff like that. And I started able to connect with these people that are 20, 21, 22, and they're making millions a month or hundreds of thousands a month. So that kind of changed my outlook on everything, because all of them barely paid attention to high school, and most of them are college dropouts, which college isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. But if you have something entrepreneurial that you want to do, then it's not necessarily needed in order to do it. Mm-hmm. And eventually I just kind of met those people. I'm sitting on calls with a bunch of other creators, and we're learning about, or we're talking about the algorithm, the things that are working for us. And that allowed for probably one of my biggest months, late junior year of high school, May. So it was right around the time of prom. And I pretty much just utilized everything that was in these calls that we were talking about. Mm-hmm. And I had a video hit for 13 million, then another one for 8, another one for 5, another one for 8. And within a month, I had gained 440,000 followers, and it hit me over 1 million in the span of 3 weeks.
Actually insane.
Yeah. So from there, it just kept growing. Then August later, after that, towards the end of the summer, I'm going into my senior year. I started to kind of be a little bit more controversial in my videos. I started to really share my opinions, and it got me banned. So it took all of my businesses that, I mean, this isn't crazy money, but it's good money, especially at my age where I was making 5, 6, 7, 8K a month from businesses.
That's actually insane.
And it took them to zero because I couldn't post. So there was like nothing I could do. And it still hasn't quite gone back to how it was beforehand. But even from there, I still kept meeting people. Then I would go to like, it's really interesting actually. Like I went to a tattoo shop, obviously, to get all tatted up. And I met the tattoo artists were talking. And he introduces me to somebody else that introduces me to somebody else. And they happen to work at Dell Tech for social media. And they host like a giant social media convention each year where it's like you have like 500 business owners come in and they're like, yo, we want you to come speak on TikTok. So I'm 18 years old going up in front of like 500 people to speak about, you know, the internet and shit. It was nerve wracking, but yeah.
Dude, that's actually nuts. Yeah. So what made you decide to actually start to want to post the controversial things? Because that can either really make you boom when it comes to TikTok or obviously bring your following to nothing because if people don't want to like associate themselves with you.
There were probably two things. One was in that time period, it's, you know, later part of 2022, the people blowing up on the internet like Andrew Tate or E-Man and stuff like that. Yeah. Like everyone that was blown up was controversial. And if you weren't controversial, you saw your views dip.
Yeah.
So it was almost like you had to keep up with the flow and keep going with it in order to stay, I don't want to say relevant because there's intrinsically going to be followers that always like what you have to say. But if you want to keep growing, then you have to, you know, kind of project your controversial views. Obviously that backfired. And then the second thing was I started to come into like my faith more in Christianity. And so I wanted to project that and start teaching that in the advice that I was giving. And that really, really backfired. I lost like, I was telling you that before the pod, I lost up to this point, like 200,000 followers plus, something like that on TikTok. So
what were the controversial opinions just so the viewers can know that you were exactly posting?
Let's see. I know the one that got me banned really shouldn't have been that controversial, but looking back at it, it was really retarded what I posted.
Yeah.
So it was a video about vaping, and we were talking about like where they're made and all this, and we're going into talking about China. I mentioned China in a video on a Chinese owned app. And
that'll do it.
I posted the video and it took off like 200K in like the first hour, and then it got taken down, and then over like that was like the warning post. And I just didn't post anything the rest of the day. I was like, whatever, we'll just leave it. We'll try something else tomorrow. And I logged back on a few hours later, and I have like 4 more random videos that have been up for weeks, just taken down. And they're like, you're banned for a month.
Dude, that's like, insane.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, like that's fucked. Like I didn't know what to do. So yeah.
I have conversations about that with my friends from high school because back then I never actually vaped, but obviously I would hit the dab pens. So we would talk about what was in those pens in like when I was a freshman or when I was a sophomore, because like we used to hit those and we just didn't think anything of it because we're at the age that it's like, all right, yeah, we're going to look cool. And then, you know, obviously you think you're just going to get high off weed. Bro, like actually smoking real weed at the age of 20, like I hate it. I don't know what we were smoking when we were younger because like that did not feel like an actual weed high.
It does feel different. We used to do, this is back before I got religious and stuff. Torches. Like every day would be torches and shit. And when I started to learn what was in that, like, dude, there's a bunch of heavy metals and tin. But it was also, I learned about that and I was like, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then you just still do it anyways.
Yeah, you just do it. But man, I don't know what your reasoning is for like not liking weed anymore, but I had a really bad experience with it.
Let me hear it, yeah.
So this is once again started to become religious, and I started to feel kind of conflicted about the idea of smoking and getting high. Yeah. And I, you know, obviously the first thing I'm doing is I'm researching, I'm looking at the people that I like to listen to, and I'm seeing what they have to say. And some of them, you know, it's okay, it's not that big of a deal, like it's nowhere in the Bible. And then, you know, you have the flip side where it's people that, you know, are saying, you're not supposed to, you know, like drug up your body, basically. You need to be sober-minded. I'm pretty sure that's what the Bible says, like just like that. And I kind of just ignored it. I was going to a party and I was like, you know, like one last time, even though I know I'm not supposed to be doing it, like let's just do it. Just one last time. Yeah. So I get to the party, it's going cool, and I get offered an edible. and it was supposed to be 300 milligrams. And keep in mind, I should probably preface this part. This is around Christmas time. I was drinking beforehand.
Okay.
About to take a 300 milligram edible. And so I take that and I smoke after that. So I knew I was going to be messed up. But I was like, it is what it is. Like, let's just have fun. And by this point, going into my senior year, I got like kind of addicted to it. Like, I was smoking in the morning before I'd go into school.
Are you serious?
Get out of school, I'd smoke. And then before I'd go to bed, I'd smoke again. So I was smoking 3 times a day minimum. If it was the weekend, I'm going with friends and we're smoking like all day long. Yep. It's literally a day event. Mm-hmm. And so when it finally starts to kick in, it just felt off. Mm-hmm. And that's when I walk back in to talk to the person that will remain nameless.
Of course, yeah.
And they accidentally gave me the full bar, not a piece was supposed to be 300. So it was 1,200 plus the smoking, plus the drinking. And I tried to walk outside because like, I don't know if you've been high, then you know if you go into like a really cold place, it kind of numbs and like dies down the high a little bit. Yeah. It didn't. It made it worse. And I was like, dude, I'm fucked. Like, it's over. Yeah. And I 100% thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So I go back to the bathroom and I'm passing out in the toilet. There's like, I started seeing things before I would pass out. So if you've ever, this is not a good experience at all. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. But when you start to pass out, it's almost like little dots start to come towards your eyes and like they get in a pattern and closer, and then you just black out. And I would like do that repeatedly, and I'm waking up like head on the toilet seat and stuff. And I remember seeing Woody from Toy Story on a giraffe, and he was like riding around me, and then the dots came at me. I passed out again. I was gone. Like I haven't done it. Well, I haven't done anything like that since. Yeah. Like not even close. And I don't even like the feeling anymore. Mm-hmm. And now that I've grown in my faith more, I don't really have. Beforehand, it was like I wanted to do it, but I shouldn't do it. Now it's like I don't even have the temptation to do it. Like I don't want to do it, you know. But yeah, terrible experience.
My issue is, I'm not even gonna lie. Ever since probably my sophomore year of high school, I had one experience where I just absolutely like fucking went into like not a psychotic break, but like, bro, I just did not even feel myself like myself when I was high. I was just like tripping the hell out. And then there was this other experience that I'll never forget. And it's funny thinking back on it, but I was watching this movie, John Dies at the End, and it was supposed to be like for people that are high, but I was like really high enough to the point that everything that is in that movie was like I thought was real. So there was like somebody gets their arm cut off and they have like phantom limb syndrome, and they open up a door with their phantom limb. Like, it's really fucking stupid. But if you watch this like completely tripping, bro, my friends and I were gone. Like, we ate an entire fucking like tub of ice cream. Like, that's how bad it was. And I just remember like never being like, okay, I hate, like, I'm never fucking smoking again. Every single instance that I've smoked after that has just been awful. Like, I'll do the same thing where you fucking see things. I remember I took like 150 milligrams, and you're like, the normal dose is supposed to be like 10 milligrams. Yeah. So 300 is fucking insane regardless.
Well, then I accidentally took 1,200.
Well, that's like 1.2 grams. I don't know the math, but so I remember one time I took an edible, and it was because this girl made it with actual dabs. And when you make it with dabs, obviously it's going to be stronger regardless. So I started seeing like Sonic, and I started seeing like the mountains and the patterns and shit, and I saw him like running up and down it. I started seeing Sonic rings like fly at me, like those gold rings, and I was like, yeah, as much as that sounds like that's cool, it's not. It's not. Like, when I smoke weed, I don't want to be fucking hallucinating, bro. So ever since then, like, I've just been hallucinating from then on since I started smoking weed, as well as, this is weird for me to say, but weed for me is almost like induced stress. It's induced anxiety. No matter, I haven't had an actual experience where I smoke weed where I've actually enjoyed it once again since sophomore, but I've done it a ton of times. I don't know why, just peer pressure. It like looks cool when you smoke. So since I do it, the only reason I'll do it from now on is I know it will give me anxiety and it makes me think a lot. And usually what it ends up doing is it brings me to the root of my issues. So I will do that when I smoke. It's almost like, okay, well, it's going to be a bad experience, but since it's a bad experience, I know like what is truly bothering me. And I know that doesn't really make any sense, but it makes sense in my mind.
No, I think I get what you mean. Yeah. But even after that experience, like around Christmas, when I tried to do it again, I even took like a month off because I was like 100%, like even the idea for a while of doing it would give me like a queasy feeling. Like it really messed me up. But even once that went away and I ignored exactly what God was trying to tell me again, I would go to do it and I would have like, I think I shared this in a video one time. I would have I would have like anxiety and panic attacks and almost forget how to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to like step outside the car and stuff like that. So, and it was, the other part that I found interesting was it always happened with the people that I used to smoke with and that were there that night. You know?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it was almost like I don't know if the environment was a trigger too, but even then I try not to hang around those people as much unless it's doing activities that are more casual, you know? Something
of course.
Yeah. But
so since growing up, and this is going to be like friendship wise, since blowing up on TikTok and obviously having a lot of people know you, like how has that caused people to talk to you? How has that caused people to like try to create friendships with you? What has that actually done to your social life in general?
One thing I can really say is the people that I grew up with, people that were in the neighborhood that I grew up with, because I was in a neighborhood where it was kids. Like I was one of the youngest people in this neighborhood, full of kids anywhere from like 8 to 18, and we would all just hang out. So that group, obviously my family, and the dudes that I went to middle school with, like nothing ever changed, which I really appreciated, because to me, at the end of the day, making the content stuff, like I want to make an impact, but it's business, you know?
Oh, hell
like
yeah,
I want to keep that separate from my personal life. So it was nice to know that those people didn't change their outlook on me or anything like that, even though my opinions strongly disagree with some of them. Like the way that we treat each other and hang out, like that never changed. So I love that. Like that was, because I know a lot of people, as soon as they start to get like any form of clout and stuff like that, like a lot of those old relationships and stuff that you have just go down the drain. Yeah. The biggest change, you get a lot of like, especially in high school, this is probably part of the reason I started to not like it, especially my senior year. You get a lot of those like sneak jabs, you know, like it's the low key diss comments in something that somebody would say, or sometimes you go to a hoop session or something like that, and I'd meet a new person and they'd be like, yo, I heard you're famous, and I'd be talking to them and the conversation would be going good. And then you'd get somebody else over here that like, I'm cool with or something like that would be like, yeah, he's got 1.1 million followers. Me personally, I would never take advice from him. It was like, and they just turn away. Like, it's just,
are you
shots.
serious?
Yeah. But for a while, I used to check it, you know, and raise problems and confrontation. And then I kind of realized, one, it's just not worth it. It's like the comment section.
Yeah.
The people that are leaving hate comments in your comment section just want to project that onto you. And for a while, it took a lot of my energy. Same with the people that were saying this stuff in person. But eventually, I just stopped paying it any mind, you know? Like, there's just so much more valuable stuff I could be doing rather than focusing on whatever, like, this random-ass dude has to say about me. So, yeah.
I realized that all of my friends from middle school are all of my closest friends now. Yeah. I'm not even going to lie. Like, most of the people that I talked to in high school, I really don't keep up with them. Yeah. But my closest friend group, and I there's probably like 5 or 6 of those guys, like, I love them to death and I wouldn't trade them for the fucking world. Yeah. But it's just so weird because everyone's like, yeah, your circle gets smaller in high school, but like my circle was fucking static from middle school. And obviously, like, that was a completely different circle than actual high school. Yeah. So it's just like weird how that ends up working. And I haven't experienced the jabs as like strongly as that, but I've gotten a lot of people, especially in like one of the clubs that I'm in, people are always like, oh yeah, his podcast name is the Brandon Alper Experience. Like, nice, calling me like a narcissist because that's my name. And I'm like, I'm trying to market myself. Like, I'm trying to market my name. Yeah. And you're trying to like come at me for that. And I'm just like,
just creating a personal brand.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. And people are trying to like come at that. And obviously, like, it pisses me off, but I'm just like, they don't understand. Because they don't understand the branding aspect of social media. And I could like sit here and try to explain, but it's just not fucking worth it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
no, I 100% get what you mean. The other big change I noticed, damn, it's not like I'm clouded or like famous or anything like that, but especially once my Instagram grew and a large following, and then I bought the blue check.
Did you?
Yeah, I bought it. Like, full disclaimer. I was probably about to get one anyways because Del Tech was writing articles, and you need articles from either colleges or Forbes and stuff like not Forbes, but big magazine companies in order to get verified. So I was about to get it either way, but then they kind of took that away. They're like, you have to buy it. So I was like, I'm buying it. Well, actually, I thought it was corny to buy it, so I wasn't going to. And then some of my friends were like, are you going to do it? And I was like, that's corny, ain't it? They were like, dude, you actually have a following. It's not corny. It'd be different if you had like 50 followers and you're buying it. Then that's one thing. But so I bought it, and there would be girls, whether it was online or in person, that wouldn't show much interest. And then when they saw my Instagram, it would change. The interest would change. Then they'd want to hang out or go watch a movie or some shit. And it was just... Yeah.
That's what the clout brings, man.
It's crazy too. I can only imagine what it's like for people that are really famous, like how different it is for them, because I just have 1 million on TikTok from giving my opinions.
Yes.
Like that's it.
Yes.
And it completely changed how some, not all obviously, but how some women interacted with me. So I can only imagine if you're Logan Paul and you have 20 million on Instagram and you're a household name, everybody knows who you are. It's probably insane. So yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, same thing here. People will just say, oh, he's a man with a podcast. And, they automatically associate anything with podcasts with, Andrew Tate and all that kind of shit. And it's just kind of funny. And I'm just like, all right, fuck it at that point. But, no, I agree. People obviously want to associate themselves with anybody and anything that has clout, because you'll have people that'll just hit you up out of nowhere asking you to do podcasts with you. Or, and I have no issue with that if you actually try to say hi and that kind of stuff first. But it was like, oh, and they'll hit me. I remember there was this one girl that fucking messaged me about a podcast. She was like, we haven't talked since high school or something. And she was like, why haven't you invited me on the podcast yet? And I was like, you haven't said a word to me since. And you expect me to all of a sudden have you on. I'm just like, bro, come on, man.
Bro.
Use your fucking brain. But I don't know. I've actually started myself to realize what the actual people that I want to start to surround myself around. And it really there's two types of ways of looking at it. It's the type of guy friendship that I want to have around. And then this goes for women as well, but I'm talking, and then also relationships. My thing is I have to view you as attractive, and that's not just looks. That is how you take care of yourself and all that kind of shit. You have to have drive as well. And then you also have to have a strong personality. Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing, and it's probably the hardest thing to find, especially if you go religious or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
Is morals and, I don't want to say kind of standards, but ethics in a sense.
That's
your outlook on life has to be similar. And even in the Bible, it says that it's the only piece of dating advice in the entire Bible is be equally yoked, which basically just means have the same outlook on life and how you how you see your life going. And if you want to have kids and stuff like these are all the types of things that you need to be same one-minded on. That's the better way of saying it. So yeah, that's probably the main thing that I look for beyond obviously someone being attractive or something like that. That's probably the main thing.
So what made you want to start making those videos on TikTok regardless? Obviously, it's a little bit switching the conversation, but I just started thinking of that. Why did you start making these male advice videos and that kind of stuff?
Well, I think my first video I ever posted on TikTok was ranking hip-hop artists.
Okay.
And this is back at the time where you would play a sound in the background and point on each bass drop. And you pop up a name and it would go crazy. So I'm pretty sure that was my first video, and it got, I don't know, 50K. So I was like, maybe I'll do these. Advice is something I could, is kind of interesting. So I made first video. This is COVID time. So sophomore year, you're sitting at home all the time, nothing to do. So I just post a video about mental health. And the first video gets 184K or something like that.
Are you
something
serious?
Crazy. And the video was not good at all. Looking back, it was terrible. But the criteria to go viral back then wasn't nearly as hard. So you get one video like that and you're like, dang, maybe I got a knack for this. So I just started like taking my opinions and putting them with like popular YouTubers' opinions and stuff like that, and I would mesh them and then give it into like advice, and it just like people loved it. And then I just started. It took me 3 months to hit 10K, and by then I was hooked. Like it was the only thing I was posting by that point. And then I don't know, maybe 2-3 months after that, I hit 100K, and then it kept going.
So one thing that I actually think it's really cool that you're giving the male advice. And there was one thing, I'm not even joking to you when I say this. I was having a conversation with my mother about this, and I was like, in order to, I'm just going to use Andrew Tate's words, escape the matrix, in order to like actually make it truly big in society without having to go to school for 12 years, 8 years, you have to do something different. And one thing that I noticed was, I'm just bringing that in because that's going to come into play later, is that a lot of men in society are very troubled right now because, especially with the Andrew Tate shit, obviously 5% of men are going to be, maybe even less, are going to be on those extremes. So they're either going to be on like the extreme alpha side, or like if you're not on that side, people just automatically associate you as a bitch. So no, I'm serious.
Yeah, it's true.
So because Andrew Tate and that kind of stuff is so big, that's such a small percentage of these people, but it's so fucking like, it's so big on social media because it's so different, because it brings in views, so people automatically associate that all men are like this. And if you're not like that, it's really going to obviously push you into a corner and feel as if you kind of have to act like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, well, men in society feel as if they have to be in between one or the other, but most people aren't, and they don't actually realize that. So what you can start doing is like, either be on like one side or the other, because that's what brings the views in. And I was like, wait a second, like that's where people are so desperate for information that if you start like giving people this like advice, it doesn't matter who you are, people are going to start listening to it because they're so desperate and they're so vulnerable in society.
Yeah, there's such a need for men, I should say, to have purpose in their lives. And so when there's absolutely nobody in most dudes' lives, there's nobody showing them like this is the correct way to do things, or this is what you should pursue.
Yes.
Or like dream big, have big goals, or you don't have like masculine figures in people's lives they can look up to, or they don't go to church, they don't have a religion, so they're not looking up to any God or anything like that, any higher power. You leave the door open to then where people, like, whether or not you like him, doesn't really matter. Like, you leave the door open to people like Andrew Tate to come in and present his message of, like, be masculine, be strong, like, chase your goals, like, everything that he preaches. And, yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, the problem is then you get, I don't want to say radical dudes on there, but you kind of do. You kind of get some radical dudes like, do you know the Fresh and Fit podcast?
Oh, God, yeah.
You get radical viewpoints because they identify all of the problems that everyone else is identifying. The fact that men don't have purpose, men feel depressed, like most men don't get any attention, most men are chronically addicted, most men are so overstimulated by video games and pornography and everything else that they can't even focus. Like the idea of being successful is like a pipe dream to them.
Yeah.
But so they identify these correct problems, but they give the wrong medicine in order to solve it. And typically a lot of those viewpoints are like toxic views towards women, or toxic views towards marriage, or toxic views towards religion, or I'm trying to think of some of the other things. Like they kind of have a mindset I disagree with. Those are kind of like the main things.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Yeah. And so then when there's these people that don't have figures, they don't have anything else to compare it to, they're so unhappy, they don't have anybody around them. So they go online to learn, they come across these pages, and then they kind of get these viewpoints that don't really show what the real world is like. And so typically they have to go through, I'm pretty sure there's actually a word for it when you watch like those really far red pill creators, like red pill rage or something like that, where you almost think all women aren't shit. And I kind of went through that for a little while in my life, because all it takes is you hearing this type of information and having a few bad experiences in like your day-to-day life and your relationships and stuff like that, and you start to like genuinely think it's true. And the problem with thinking like that is then you project those viewpoints and you project that energy out. And so when you project that energy out, you get the women that aren't shit back. Because some of them are. Like, some people genuinely aren't shit.
Yes.
And so then it kind of just reaffirms the mindset that you had, and then you get put in this endless cycle. So the only way you're going to break out of that is, one, to stop consuming that content, but two, you need to be able to critically think about everything that everyone's saying and identify if you agree or not, number one, but is it going to help you, right? And it's really hard too when you have clips and stuff like that, where long podcasts of these creators get like clipped up, and then it's very easy to kind of spin a narrative and stuff like that. But all you have to do, whether it's politics or you're watching the news or business or anything like that, just look at what they're saying and be able to objectively look at it and think if it's going to improve your life. And if it is, listen to them. Yeah. And if it won't, don't listen to them.
Yeah, there's things that I've noticed about a lot of those creators, and you can listen. And one of the main things with Tate is my friend and I had a conversation about this, and it was, what these guys will do is say 9 controversial things and then one thing that is like, oh, actually, I kind of agree with that. So people will not automatically associate them as just being absolutely insane or crazy. Because sometimes these guys have good takes, but obviously they're going to have to say this controversial shit just to get those views, just to spray those opinions. So if you are able to, like, actually, like you said, if you are able to look at the good things that these people say and then able to, like, differentiate the bad shit, then you can actually take this advice and be able to run with it and be a positive, like, person with it. Yeah. But because people are so desperate in society, they see these masculine men that they look up to, and they automatically believe every single thing that they're saying is truthful. Yeah. And they're like, all right, well, he's going to be my role model. I'm going to start living my life exactly like them. And then all of a sudden you've got a guy that thinks women aren't shit. I can cheat. She can do what, like, she has to follow exactly by me, like all this kinds of stuff. And it's just becomes radical. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing too. It's like certain viewpoints in things that they say, I'm like, I agree, right? Like, they'll say that in like obviously I'm traditional, right? With Christianity and stuff like that. So how my outlook on life is going to be kind of based off that. And if you're going biblically, then men are supposed to lead. Men are supposed to be masculine and, like, handle the problems and be I don't want to say the base, but, like, they're like the head. They guide everything, right? But the problem is sometimes you'll watch these creators and they'll say that and you'll be like, I agree. And then they'll be like, well, this is why men should be allowed to cheat. And I'm like, what? And then I'll be like, what's their reasoning for even saying this? And then you listen, it's like, well, on the Titanic, when the Titanic used to sink, I'm pretty sure it's a real clip. If you look around, you can probably find it. He was like, when the Titanic used to sink, all the women and the children got on the boats, not the men. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything, dude?
Like, dude, I don't know, man. I'll see those things and it'll just be like, yeah, the woman, she has to follow exactly by me, but if she even goes out to a bar, or if she even goes out to the club, she's cheating. She shouldn't want that. She should just want my attention, all this kind of shit. But I can go out and fuck whoever I want, and, like, I deserve that because I'm the man. Like, how do you actually watch those clips? Because I kind of watch them as satire, but, like, I know for a fact whether or not those people are listening to that or, like, saying that and they believe it's truthful, somebody's going to listen to that and actually believe it.
Well, it's a lack of. One, it's a lack of kind of morality in a sense, but two, it's a lack of, what's the word? Not responsibility, but accountability. Yeah. It's a lack of accountability on their part. It's like, you have to stick to this area, but I don't. And I had a fucking great point, but I don't remember what I was going to say. Damn. Hopefully it'll come back to me. But yeah, it's a lack of accountability and
all good.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had a conversation with, okay, so I was in, like, a situationship for, like, a month, and I realized how much I hate situationships while I was in them, because it's just, like, you want the attention, but you also want to do stuff with other people, but if you know they're doing stuff with other people, you're like, fuck, I don't want them to be doing that. So it was just, like, that really brought the insecurity out of me. And I just, like, looking back on it, dude, I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, I'm not regretful of anything that I did or said while I was in it, but it was just like, it shows how much I really do want a relationship. But it honestly, like, I'm glad that that kind of stuff happens because it shows, like, how high the standards are for me. And, like, you actually have to truthfully be all in and that kind of stuff for a relationship. And nothing against the person, but like I just realized I was like, I can't be doing this.
Yeah.
So that kind of shit is just, I don't know. It's
I think it's good for anybody, regardless man or woman, to figure out what you want in somebody else. And some people say you need to like do that through experience, which in essence is kind of true.
Yep.
But like, you don't need to go up and hook up with a bunch of random people at bars and clubs in order to figure that out. No. That's the first thing. So you can kind of, in essence, figure out at least you know your own morals and stuff like that. And that's what really keeps a relationship together. Not if you have the same interests and shit like that. Like that doesn't matter. So figure out what you want morally and make sure you find someone that has the same outlook on life and wants to have the not the same goals in the sense like you both want to start a business, but you both want to get to this point in your life eventually. Mm-hmm. And if as long as you know that, then you're good and you can just work on you and build yourself up so then you are naturally becoming the person that person would want. Yep. And in the meantime, you don't have the distractions of situationships or relationships or hooking up or anything like that. And I think if anybody's ever tried to sleep around or like just talk to a lot of girls or a lot of guys at once, it like takes a lot of time. Like I know it only seems like, oh, you're only sending a few texts a day and stuff like that. But if you're texting 5 different people and it takes a minute or 2 each time to text, and then you're texting all day long and then you're trying to plan links, but sometimes it doesn't work. And then you have to finesse a phone call or a FaceTime call in order to get them there. And then you have to drive to link up and then you have to sit there and talk. And then maybe you'll be able to make a move and then it leads to something. And then maybe you get to have an orgasm. Yay. Like,
woo!
Like
yeah,
you do
exactly.
all of that and you waste so much time doing that. Yeah. It's just not worth it.
Dude, you couldn't have put that any better. I had a conversation with, I'll say his name, with one of my friends, Ryan. It was after I had hooked up with this girl. We had went to this place called the Den by Denny's, and I was walking, and I literally felt like a piece of me was gone. Yeah. Because I had hooked up with a girl, and I was like, what did I just do? Yeah. I was like, I didn't want to say I felt disgusting. I was just like, this doesn't even feel right. Yeah. Like, I'll like, you know, the post-nut clarity. The post-nut clarity doesn't hit me 10 minutes like after. It hits me the next morning. Like, really? Yes.
It hits me immediately.
Are you serious?
Immediately. I remember, all right, so this is freshman years, right before COVID. It's like, wow, I actually have a lot of situations I can explain this in. But there's been a few times where I link up with somebody and you hook up whatever you do whatever. Yeah. And when you finish, I felt like shit right after because in essence, I didn't even know what her last name or anything was. I don't know anything about her. We don't have any connection whatsoever. So you're really just masturbating with another person. That's really what you're doing. Like you're both just sitting there using each other so that you can like lust. Like yes. That's it. Like that's the only, and that's so pointless.
Yes.
So much of a waste of time. And yeah, it's just, it ain't for me.
I don't know. There's nothing like actually appealing about just fucking. Right. Like, I want to have actual sex.
I know what you mean. I thought it was needed though, because if you go on the internet or you hang around just the average dude and stuff like that, what makes you a man nowadays is fucking a lot of girls. Like that's what makes you a man. And so it took me, it wasn't until I got religious that I realized that hooking up with a bunch of girls doesn't make you a man. What you can provide to the world is what makes you a man. How strong, how reliable you are. That's what makes you a man. How you treat others. Can you be patient and consistent and show up to something that's what actually makes you a man, not how many people can I sleep with this weekend, or can I get this girl from the bar who is definitely like fucked like 5 other guys this week? Can I pull her? Yes. Like, congrats, dude. You can get with the girl that has no soul whatsoever. Congrats. Like, yeah. It's pointless. I don't like hookup culture.
Yeah, I don't either. But I definitely can understand why people want it, because for a guy, like, you actually have to work for everything in order to get that nut in with the woman. Yeah. And because you're able to get with as many women as possible, it's not very easy for a man to just go and like fuck whoever they want. So if you can fuck as many people as you possibly can, that's why people associate this success with being a fucking player. Yeah. So it's definitely a slippery slope, but I feel like most of the time it's not actually you considering yourself a man, it's what other people think of you. Yeah. And it's what you want other people to think of you.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't, bro, I know people that will like send into a group chat immediately when they had sex with somebody, and they'll like send a picture of the girl like sleeping with like her head away. And I'm like, dude, are you fucking serious? Yeah. That is like sickening to me.
Well, that kind of tells you why they did it.
Yes.
They needed that validation of being able to say, I could do it.
From another man.
And I get it.
That's
because
the thing.
If you don't have your value or anything tied to anything more than that, anything more substantial than that, then you're going to have to tie it to something. You can't just not do anything. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's part of the reason I got so famous off of just giving advice is because you start telling dudes, and it's why so many of these creators nowadays get famous. You start telling dudes to strive for higher things. Instantly, you're different. Like, you're just instantly giving a different message than pretty much every normal high school student or middle school student around them is giving them.
Mm-hmm. So. I remember I was talking to my dad about this, and I said, my goal in college is to do 2-week speed dating with a girl. So not just like going and hooking up with one girl and like every, weekend or some shit. Right. I want to legitimately like test the waters and test the options. I want to give this girl like a 2-week free trial. And I'm like, all right, well, if I like this girl, then I'll go on more with her. If I like this girl more, then I'll make it a month. Right. That kind of shit. But I don't know. It's just like interesting because then you get to the point where it's like, you really like the person, but then you just know that it's not good for you. Yeah. So that was something that I realized most recently, with all respect to the person. But like when that kind of shit happens, you just can't be friends with them because you've created this, I don't know, like so much emotion. Like I can't just look at them in the eyes and just go back to being a normal friend with them anymore. It's impossible. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I'm never going to speak to them again. Yeah. That kind of shit. So it's weird. Yeah.
I get what you mean. How do you feel about dating the date versus just, so I'm of the mindset that this is before I think it's absurd to date just to date and not date for marriage. Like I would only date someone and become exclusive and let everybody know that I'm dating them and let them meet my mom and my family and my grandparents and stuff like that. I'm only going to let them do that if I think the morals line up, the character lines up. I mean, obviously the look stuff line up, but personality lines up, and I think they would be a good fit and genuinely make my life better, and I could see myself 5 years with them from now, 10 years. And
that's crazy.
It's the only way I'm going exclusive with somebody. And even, damn, this is going to sound shallow.
No, I don't care.
But I can tell whether or not I would date somebody off like strictly look. There's a certain level, if you're honest as a dude, there's a certain level of attractiveness a girl has to be in order for you to be willing to date her. And I can tell you within 2 seconds of seeing somebody, I'm like, you're somebody I would date and try and marry. You're somebody I wouldn't. Yeah. And so for a while there was girls that were attractive, but I couldn't see myself dating them long term. And I used to mess around there. And then once I kind of got serious about my life, I realized that was a big waste of time. Mm-hmm. And I should only be looking for the women that are going to be in the small pool here that I could see my life playing out with. Yep. And other than that, just.
Okay. So it's funny that you brought that up because I don't think that I would date to marry, but I'm not even joking to you, there are probably 5 women, and I know them, I'm obviously not going to name them, but there are 5 women that I have like actually pinpointed that they have been attractive enough for me to date. Mm. And it's like, I will look at them and I'm like, okay, you are attractive. But the weird thing is all of those girls that are on that list have a lot of drive. And I don't know if that's what's so attractive to me because like they obviously take care of themselves, but when you talk to them, they're so like peppy. They have a lot of confidence. They have a lot of personality to them. Mm-hmm. And that is why I probably think they're so attractive. And I can kind of see that just by looking at them because I have a very weird taste when it comes to women, and all of my friends will attest to that because they'll show me a girl and they'll be like, yo, this girl's hot as fuck. And I'm like, yeah, but she's not like beautiful. Because like obviously
an IG model is hot.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean she's beautiful. Exactly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
because there are girls that I look at and I will send to my friends like, there are like 2 guys that I always send these girls and I'm like, this girl is actually fucking beautiful. Yeah. And you can tell just by looking at them. I don't know if that's a facade in my brain or something that I'm telling myself, but I know that for a fact. And yeah, there's probably only like 4 or 5 girls that I would legitimately date, but I wouldn't date to marry. I would only date them, well, for the time being, I would only date them because I know that they would be good for me in the sense of they have drive, they're working towards something, I have drive, I'm working towards something, and I know that we would collide in a good way and we would work towards better things. However, marriage obviously for me is like such a big deal. Dating such a big deal because I don't want to associate myself with just anybody.
Yeah.
But I know that for a fact. And I have this problem where, okay, this is going to sound really weird for somebody that is an outsider, like not inside of my brain, so 8 billion other people on this planet. But if I'm speaking to somebody, like if I'm having a relationship with somebody and I don't really view them enough to date, I get migraines. Like, I legitimately get headaches because there's a part in my brain that tells me this person is not good enough for me. And I will, like, that has happened. I don't want to say this, but, like, that has happened with, like, almost every girl that I've ever, like, actually been associated with. Yeah, no, I'm being dead serious. I know that's really fucked up to say.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
That
like,
is wild.
my brain actually tells me, no, you should not be doing this. And it's weird because my dad, my mom, everybody tells me, like, you should just be doing this to have fun. But, like, I would date a person to have fun, but they have to actually be good for me in order for me to date them to have fun, because my fun is, like, actually fucking seeing myself in the future being successful.
Yeah.
And if I am just talking to somebody because they have a good personality, then probably, you know, like, it's not enough for me.
Yeah.
Is there an issue that I probably get the migraines when I talk to this person? Yeah, I should probably like figure that out.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
But yeah.
Nah, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, I'm not disrespecting anybody that likes the lifestyle of going out and partying and clubbing. Like, if that's your thing, like, do it.
Yeah.
But to me, none of that makes me excited anymore. Like,
Really?
genuinely, the idea of business or sitting down and record, like, what I do for a living now, making content, helping other people, making money off, like, I genuinely love what I do. So if I have free time, you know, most people would go to a party or maybe go to, well, that kind of makes me sound like a weirdo or something like that. But genuinely, I like spending my free time, even when I was in school and you'd have a few hours after school before, you know, everybody got home, the house got loud, whatever. I liked spending my time doing that. And that's when I really knew it was, like, my purpose. And that's also when I knew, damn, I don't know the best way to say this.
All good.
Yeah, I don't know. Just, you can take it back. You good. I'm not sure I want to say that.
Can you give me a refresher real quick what you said? Because I do have an opinion. My bad.
On,
yeah, like what
like
were
what
you
I just said.
Yes.
I don't find the clubs and the parties
okay,
like that
okay,
interesting. Okay. Yeah.
See, my thing is I have a very strong passion for interpersonal connection. So, or communication, whatever it is. So I find it very easy to thrive off of one-on-one conversations, going and just, like, sitting down at you know, wherever it might be, and just actually creating a connection with another person, whether that's for friendship, whether that's for a future relationship potential, whatever it might be, business partner. I love doing that, and I would prefer to do that over the partying. But if I can combine that in one, then that's awesome for me. Like, a lot of guys and, like, a lot of everybody likes to just go to the bar, likes to, you know, go into these basements or go to, like, house parties and have fun and scream and, you know, like, all that kind of shit. And don't get me wrong, it is very fun. And I do love it sometimes. Like, and there is times that I really do love just, like, going and playing Pong with somebody. Like, oh, don't get me wrong, that kind of shit. But I also do find it very difficult when there's, like, loud music playing and I'm just, like, creating bullshit small talk with somebody while I'm in the middle of a party. Like, I actually think it's fucking impossible and it's painful for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just overthink every single word that I'm saying. But, like, if it's one-on-one, I don't overthink a single thing that I'm saying, because it's like, I'm showing you me. But if I'm in the middle of a ton of people, like, I don't know, it's just weird for me.
No, I get what you mean. Maybe I didn't describe that correctly too, because I like, would you call it interpersonal relationship?
Interpersonal,
I like that part of it, but I don't like a lot of the stuff that comes with it, especially as I'm trying to grow my faith. Like, none of that is going to help me get any closer to God. So at some point when you decide to take your faith or religion seriously, you're going to have to remove yourself from some of the environments you used to be in. And that was one of them for me. And for a while, it kind of did bother me, but slowly through growing that relationship with God, that want to go to those parties, that doesn't really exist anymore. So maybe I didn't describe that correctly the first time, but that's really like how it is. It's like, I don't have the desire to do that, but I do have the desire to like build shit, like build businesses or build my social media following. Or, I mean, I messed up my shoulder when I was playing a sport or whatever, so I haven't been able to work out, but going on run, like anything that is building something is kind of what I'm addicted to now. Okay. So yeah, I feel like that's a better way of putting it.
I'm addicted to actually building like connections with other people. And I mean that in the sense of my old boss, Bobby, at Brightside, he would always say, you're never going to be in a situation where there's as much close proximity. That's the word that he used, while you're in college. So the amount of connections that you are able to build in college, you'll never be able to experience that as much as in your life, just because of like, there's 20,000 people within like a 3-mile square radius. It's fucking insane. So I've been trying to like get involved in clubs that have people where people have similar interests as me, because then it's obviously easier to build a connection if you have an interest that is similar with another person. So it just automatically, like, you don't have to sit there and like try and have a 5-minute conversation trying to find something that you and them both have an interest in. Like, you could just automatically start, I'm interested in movies or comedy, and then boom, start off, go from there. I feel you. So it's, I don't know, like that kind of shit I have an actual passion for to build. And yeah. One thing that I wanted to bring up, because I obviously kept going back to this, you started talking about Christianity. When did you realize that religion was so important in your life? And was there any specific moment that triggered this, or just what was it?
I think I always knew, but long before I was religious, like even when I was a little kid, I never doubted the idea of God. Like, I know some people do, some people like, you just kind of intrinsically think that it's true. For me, when I was growing up, the idea of looking at the ocean and life and plants and trees and the sky and like everything is so beautiful and perfectly made that to me, it felt like this couldn't have just happened by chance, by random. So I guess I kind of always believed in God. What made me actually religious was I kind of have a few things. One, it's why I've talked about it in so many videos, is there was so much stuff around that genuinely just seemed evil that I felt like if the devil was real, like all of it, whether or not you believe it, I don't know. But the artists and everyone that proclaims like that, like Satan so much, it's so weird to me that I was like, if they're so confident and they're like, obviously they're very successful and stuff like that, if they're so confident in the power of Satan and the angel below, then God intrinsically has to be real. So then I wanted to figure out, what do I think is real? And I had a Christian friend and I had a Muslim friend, so I'd ask them questions, and especially the Christian friend, once COVID hit and you're sitting and playing the game a lot and stuff like that, you just sit around, you ask questions. That was kind of my first introduction to it. And then I wanted to research for myself what made me choose, like, what would make me choose Christianity over Islam or anything else? And the main thing was, when I'm looking at business or fitness or anything, I want someone who's done what I've already wanted to do already. And essentially the main reason religion exists, whether or not religious people admit it, is because you believe in afterlife and you want to go to heaven. That's the main reason. And I wanted someone that had done it. And the only empty tomb out of 9,000 religions that are in the world was Christianity. And it definitely felt like it was one of these was right. Like one of these main, Islam or Christianity, was correct. And so that was kind of the first big thing. I was like, okay, maybe, leaning Christianity a little bit. And then I was also thinking, if there's a God that made me and divinely made everybody in the world and loved us so, it had to be love if he wanted us to experience everything that life has to offer, like even just the simplest things, or the simplest things, even things like just looking at the sunset. Like, life is so beautiful. Like, there's so many experiences that are amazing. Whatever God made me would have to be a loving God. And then the final thing, I guess it was kind of the final thing, I started just reading the Bible, and I've had this exact same experience with tons of followers that have either DM'd me or friends that have DM'd me. When you read the Bible, there is a good feeling that genuinely comes with it, especially when I started reading about like the New Testament, like Jesus and like his walk of life and all of that. I felt different after reading that. Like it was, and if you're talking scripturally, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit is within you because you have the Holy Trinity, right? God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. So that's in you. And according to Christianity, I was essentially waking that up. And then I was like, all right, so this is kind of interesting. Then my pops got really sick. COVID, like double pneumonia, was in the hospital. They were about to put him on a ventilator. And if you know anything about the ventilators, when COVID came around, it's like a 50-50 shot that you survived once you went on a ventilator. Like it was not great. So it was getting worse and worse by the day. And I probably should explain this part a little bit beforehand, but my brother's girlfriend's grandfather is a pastor, who's now my pastor, called my pops and was like asking to pray for him or pray with him. So they go through a prayer on the phone because he can't go into the hospital. And he's like, now after we did that, they went through the prayer. He's like, if you have any weird dreams or anything like that, don't worry about it. I'll call you back tomorrow. And so they go to sleep, and sure enough, my pops does. Like my pops does have, and my pops is, if you knew my dad, I no one's ever met him. I've never even showed him in a video or anything like that before. My dad is a Midwest country, like 6 foot, 350 pound plumber that like
unit.
that.
Yeah.
And genuinely his face got like pale when he was telling me the story when he came back from the hospital. And he was like, I had this dream, which this part was kind of funny, but he was like, I was being chased by midgets with knives. And I was like, all right, this is getting weird. And then the pastor calls him, and the pastor's like asking about his dreams. And so he was like, did you have anything? He's like, yeah. And then my pastor just goes on this tangent talking about that he was sitting in this room with like, it would be like these faces that would just sprint at him. And right when they were about to get to him, it just couldn't get to him. And I'm like, obviously, this is really weird, especially if you're not spiritual or religious or anything. Like this almost sounds like I'm making it. Yeah, like I'm making it up. Yeah. And he's sitting there. They have the same dream after praying the exact same prayer together at the exact same time. And so that completely flipped the switch for my pops. And so this kind of threw us into this, when he got back, he got healed, this opportunity where the pastor was like, you should just come in for church. So I started going to church, and the same feeling that I started to get when I started to read the word was the same feeling I started to get in church when I would listen, because I wasn't singing immediately, the worship songs, stuff like that. I'm sitting all the way in the back of the church. I'm just listening to what everyone else is saying or singing, and I'm listening to what he says, and I can feel a little something, and it just felt different. It felt right. Like that's exactly how I explain it. Like it felt correct. And that slowly just blossomed and grew over the following year or so. And I don't know if there's anything I'm more sure of than my faith.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
like I'm so utterly convinced.
Mm-hmm.
So if no one's ever had any experience like that, like the idea of it, I can't even explain the feeling sometimes that you'll get. But if you're fortunate enough to have like one of those experiences, it completely changes your outlook on how you look at religion or faith or anything like that. So,
how long ago was this? You said during COVID?
Which part? With my pops?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was going into my junior. Maybe it might have been my sophomore year, because we might have been at home, still online school, all that. So it might have been my sophomore year, maybe my junior year, maybe. I can't remember.
I whenever it comes to religion, I never really know how to speak about it, because I'm not religious myself, but I will pray to God. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because if something goes wrong, or if I really need something, or if I really want something that's like extremely important to me, to the point where I'm like, I am trying, but I just feel like my fucking effort is not enough. I need to ask God for assistance. I will ask God. Yeah. Like, please, if this isn't in my hands, help me out. But I'm not like actively, like, I don't know, like, I don't actively believe truthfully that there's a God, but in case there is, like, I actually, like, I pray to him. It doesn't really make any sense, like, in that sense, but I'll have, I really don't know how to describe it other than there, because, yeah, seriously.
I get what you mean, because, I mean, obviously, I get told that a lot, especially when you start to talk about faith and spirituality. There's people that obviously get a lot of hate comments, but you get people that come into your Instagram or your DMs and stuff like that and have genuine questions. Like they genuinely have a conversation
I have a ton
about
of
this
questions,
stuff.
yeah.
And so I do get that idea, or I do get told a lot that it's kind of similar to you. They're like, I believe in God. I don't know what religion and stuff like that. There's a few different ways you could look at it, but one, every religion that's ever made, you have to work to get to heaven. Yeah. Like you have to have good works. You have to constantly be a good person. Old Testament, even in the Bible, you had to give sacrifices. A lot of the major religions, you have to give sacrifices and stuff like that in order to, be right with God. Yep. In Christianity, this was maybe part of the other reason I think I left out that I trusted Christianity so much is you don't have to do any of that. Yes, you have to be a good person, but Jesus, the idea is that he went on the cross and died for my sins, your sins, everyone's sins. So all you have to do is accept him as Lord, and you want to be more like him, which really just means leading with love in every aspect of your life, being more Christ-like. That's all you have to do, and you're saved. Like, in essence, that's really what it is, because if everyone had to be perfect, we would all be done. Like, we're all going to hell. Yeah. So it's the only faith, that isn't works-based, and that's what kind of convinced me too, because there's no way a God would make us and then say, you have to get everything in life completely perfect or you're going to hell. There's no way. Yeah. I definitely don't believe that. So the idea that he would then take his son, have his son die on the cross for everyone's sins, so that way all you had to do was be like, yo, I recognize you, you're God, you're Lord, and then try and be more like him, and you're saved, and then you get to meet back up in heaven. Like, that seemed more plausible to me. Yeah. So yeah.
I guess the best way to have this conversation is to explain my religion, in a sense, is I believe that if there truly is a God and he actually is all-seeing, my opinion is he will know what your intent is by the actions and the decisions that you decide to make, in the sense of he can see whether or not you are a good person or not, and it doesn't matter what you do. If he understands your intentions and they are truthfully good, then you will go to heaven. And I don't know whether or not that's run by God or like a turtle, in the sense of like South Park portrayed God as, but like, I don't know. I've been watching South Park as well, so they did that, and I just thought that was funny. I want to put that out there. But yeah, I don't know. It's just such a weird thing to me, is just religion in general. And I honestly don't really think about it, because it's just there's so many questions, because in my eyes, there is no actual proof, and it's all really just hoping.
That's faith. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all really just like hoping and praying that afterwards there is this. And in my eyes, I look at it in a sense of like, in case that there is, this is why people follow it, because they're so fearful of the afterlife. Yeah. So they want to give their life to a cause. And honestly, it really just portrays like good morals, because it makes you like want to live a certain life, to the point where it's like, well, if you live a positive life, then you're going to obviously have a good, positive fucking afterlife, and you're not going to eternally burn in hell. So I'm not really well versed in this, but I obviously have my opinions, but I don't know. Like, there's just been no actual experience, or I don't think there's anything that somebody can truthfully tell me that will make me feel as if I need to be a part of a religion that will somehow like overpower my belief already in my brain.
I have two questions. One,
of course.
Well, yeah, two questions. Is there anything specific that like keeps you from believing in Christianity versus like what you believe now? Anything specific?
It has nothing to do with actual Christianity. It's like actual religion, because I think that if there's truthfully a God, he doesn't care what religion you look up to. It's all your actual intention with what you live, and whether or not you mean to be good. That's how I kind of look at it.
And then
you're good. No worries.
Dang, I got caught up listening and I forgot.
No, you're all good.
Question. If it comes back to me, I'll say it.
Okay. Yeah, no, but it's definitely something that I can understand why people look up to it, because of the afterlife shit. And I remember seeing something, I think it was on a Joe Rogan podcast, that religion actually came to life because around the same time that people started to find out about psychedelics?
I have heard about this. The problem that I found with it, at least in Christianity, and this is once again another reason I think you could make a stronger argument for Christianity than any other religion, is when you had Jesus, he comes, he walks the earth, right? He's born, and he gets his disciples, goes on the cross, dies, rises, all of this, right? So all of this happens. He rises from the dead 3 days later. People see him. His disciples testify to seeing him after that and stuff like that, after he had died, after he'd been put on the cross. Most of his disciples were brutally murdered for their faith. Like they were basically forced into situations where it's like renounce and say that everything that you said was a lie, or get brutally murdered. And they were so utterly convinced that they allowed themselves to get brutally murdered. And I think, at least me personally, if I was on a psychedelic trip, I'm not going to give up my life to act like the psychedelic trip I had was real. Like they definitely weren't just pranking everyone to be like, you know, this Jesus did all this stuff. And then they were like, you know, they were about to die for it. And then they're like, well, that was a good prank, but I'm going to stick with it. You know, like that's so mind boggling to me.
I guess the way that I look at it is, how are we able to prove the existence of anything? How are we able to prove the existence of God, of his disciples, of Jesus, of this, of that? Like there is, in my eyes, I at least haven't seen it. I don't know if anyone truly has. Like there is no true proof, in my opinion.
How do you know Alexander the Great exists?
I honestly, I don't fucking know.
Well, you trust like history books and stuff in order to, I mean, it's the same way with the Bible, stuff like that. And one thing, I actually researched this the other day because I heard this claim, and it wasn't entirely true what they were saying, but there's just as much written proof that Jesus was not only alive and a man, but went on the cross and died. Like there's more proof of that, or just as much proof as that, as the existence of Alexander the Great. And on top of that, the first books or articles that you can find written about Alexander the Great were 300 years after he died. You can find stuff written about Jesus as early as like 20 to 30 years after he died.
I just Alexander the Great also means nothing to me. Like I don't even know what he did.
I know it's like a real significant person in history. Okay. And no one in their right mind, like, you know, you learn about him in textbooks, or if you watched a YouTube video on him, like no one doubts the fact that he existed. But people do doubt the fact that Jesus existed, which I actually find kind of interesting, because there's actually...
I want to have this conversation.
There's literally a enemy that is trying to get everybody to not believe in him. So if there's one thing that I would do, is I would make people think, one, he wasn't real and I wasn't real. That was the first thing I would do if I was Satan, is I would make people think that I wasn't real and that he wasn't real. Okay. So I think if you don't have any doubt from looking back in history through textbooks and stuff like that with people that we don't have any pictures of, there's no way you could 100% prove that this person even existed, and you don't have a problem with anybody else except when it comes to Jesus. It's a little weird.
See, I look at it in the sense of, what if Satan is playing 4D chess? Like, what if that's his fucking goal?
What do you mean?
I mean, I obviously am not religious, but what I'm saying is, what if Satan actually has a plan, if he's real? Like, I really don't know. I'm just such a skeptic. Like, I legitimately don't know. There's no way, unless I were legitimately to go back in time and I saw Jesus, I had a conversation with God, and I actually understood, and I were to see him, that I would believe it. And you could say the exact same thing about everything in the textbooks, and I agree. But that's why I'm not really involved with history. I'm not a historical person. I know the now because I've been able to live in the now.
So, Christianity speaking, God's alive. I think in most religions, God is alive. Okay. So that's why you can pray. That's why you can meditate on the word and stuff like that. The Bible even says that the word of God, the Bible is living. It's the word of God. But what they mean by living is, because God is living, it's the direct thing that he wrote. And this was kind of one of the other big conflicts I had when I first started to get religious, is these books had to be written by a person, like handwritten. I mean, like somebody had to write on the page. It wasn't God. So I was like, how do I even know that this person isn't just making all this up?
Well, yeah, that's my exact thing.
Right. But if you were watching or if you were reading some old textbook and over 500 years or 1,200 years, whatever it is, there's dozen different people that write in this book.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the same book, but they're all writing, and eventually these books, hundreds of years later, will be connected because they're all separate right now. If there was over 60,000 connections between all of these authors who never met each other, some in Africa, some in this part of the Middle East or Syria or current day Iraq or anything like that, if all of it connected over like they had parallels and things that connected over 60,000 times, you'd be like, dang, there must be something going on there.
Yes, but I'm just such a skeptic because I guess I just don't want to be wrong, but in the sense of like, it doesn't mean that much to me. Like, once again, I'll reiterate, like, if God, like, I don't live my life for God, and I don't know if that's like a terrible thing for me to say to a person that's religious.
I mean, it doesn't offend me,
well,
but
no,
I do. But
yeah, of course. I live my life for myself. I'm trying to live my life to as best as I can with actual goals, morals, all this kinds of shit. And if God truthfully does believe that my intentions are good, then I will go to heaven. I don't need to actively, in my own brain, that is my understanding and willingness to like believe in a God, is if there is something real, he will be able to recognize, and I don't actively have to.
Right.
Like,
would you
them.
generally believe that the teachings in Christianity are good?
Yes. Yeah. No, I would say for the most part, other than like, I mean, the fucking, you know, like, gay, transgender shit, all that kind of stuff.
We won't go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, let's not. But yes.
The reason I'm asking is because if you think the teachings are generally good, and then you think that the way you're kind of viewing God right now is it's all about intention.
Yeah.
How he perceives what you do in life, your outlook on life. If you believe that this is good intention, everything that Christianity is teaching you, and you followed those teachings and you followed what he was saying, if there isn't an afterlife, then all you did was you just lived a great life.
Yeah,
you
I
projected
agree.
love to everybody. But if there is an afterlife and you just chose not to follow the stuff that you're pretty much already living now, minus, you know, just like cleaning up certain parts of your life, stuff like that, and just becoming a little bit more Christ-like, by not doing that, and he is real, and that like heaven and hell is a real thing, then you end up in hell.
I'm going to be dead serious.
That's such a small price to pay.
I'm going to be dead serious. If I end up in hell because of that, then that's some bullshit. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm being dead serious.
No, not really. Because
I think it is.
You have people always tell me, why would a loving God send people to hell? And I always reply, why would you go to damn. Hold on, let me try that again. People always say that, why would a loving God send people to hell? And we have free will, free choice. So the real question is, why would you choose hell over a loving God? Because, see, the idea of sin and not sinning and following the commandments and stuff like that isn't a restriction on your life. I know it seems that way, especially when you're like on the outside looking in, or when I first started in faith, I felt like it was restricting me. But what I started to realize was it was just protection to make life easier, to keep me safe, to keep me on track. See, because me not having, trying not to have sex outside of marriage and stuff anymore, or me not doing drugs, or not drinking to get drunk, or cussing, which can, you know, hurt other people and stuff like that, or steal, anything like that. It doesn't hurt my life at all. It only makes my life better.
See, I'd agree, but in my opinion, like, if there actually is a God, I don't think it would be that deep. That's
really?
Yes.
Seriously. I think it would be, because if you have a God that was so powerful that he could make everything, like you, me, the chair, the lights, the sky, everything, I think the experience of getting him wouldn't feel natural. Finding him wouldn't feel natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I just think that that's something that we're going to have to agree to disagree on.
That's fine.
And that is completely fair because I enjoy having this conversation because it's like you have your points. I mean, like I have my points. I'm just skeptic and I want to believe my own life. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong and I'm going to end up in hell. Fuck it. Like, I'm like, I know that sounds crazy, but dude, bro.
I mean, you pray sometimes. It wouldn't be bad just to try praying to Jesus and then just crack open a Bible. I can give you one if you need one.
I'm all good. Thank you.
Just crack open the New Testament
and
just read a little bit. Like not even from a religious point of view or anything. Like just open mind and read it, you know? So
I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely just a closed-minded motherfucker, especially when it comes to this stuff.
That's crazy because like you're very open-minded on like everything else.
Yes. Because I'm going to say this again. I truthfully believe if there is a God, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you have good intentions with your life, you're going to go to heaven. That is like what I truthfully believe. And I really don't think there's any possible way to get by that in my brain.
So I guess the question is, have you ever done anything with bad intention in your life?
Oh, hell yeah.
So that would then already go against that philosophy, and it would likely be a sin. So then you would already be deserving of hell again.
No, because if God understood me, and is he truly all-seeing, that it doesn't matter, like...
Right, he understands that you're imperfect.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right, he
so
understood...
then he would, that I would still go to heaven.
Exactly, you're, you right on it. Like, he understood that you're imperfect.
Yes.
And he understood that if we're saying that you... Naturally, humans are imperfect, but he's saying you got to be perfect to go to heaven. This doesn't meet, that bridge doesn't meet. Yeah. All right, let me send somebody to die for what the things that you're lacking here, so that way, bam, we can meet up.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't want to follow a certain amount of, and I know it's not like following, but I just don't feel as if I have to follow a certain amount of rules in order to go to heaven. I just really don't. That's my belief. But that is completely respectful to disagree on.
Yeah.
All good. We'll switch the topic. Let's talk about the buzz cut.
The buzz cut?
Yeah.
You know, I made a few videos about it.
Hell yeah, you have.
And
I've disagreed.
But I'm
interested, yeah.
I've posted some of the pictures just for fun, but I've gotten like probably 100 DMs now. Dudes like, yo, I just did it.
That's crazy.
And it'll be a picture of them like long hair,
and
then a picture of like a buzz cut. I'm like, dude, this is hilarious.
That's so insane.
Some of them it looks great. Some of them it's like,
yeah, I know.
Go back out.
Yeah, definitely grow your hair back out. Bro, that's what scares me because I've had like... The reason, and I'm just going to explain this to you because at the end of the day, you're 18, right? It is scary how much influence you have over people, and you are 18 years old. You haven't had, let's be serious, you haven't had that much experience in life.
Yeah.
And you are giving people advice that people are going to listen to, and that people are going to actually, act upon the things that you say to them because they believe that what you are saying is going to do them good in life.
Yeah.
That is fucking terrifying.
So for a while when there was content creation and you had popular YouTubers and stuff like that, experience and the lifestyle and stuff mattered more. But now it feels like there's been this transition in the last few years where the number one thing people are looking for in a content creator they're watching, especially in my niche, because it's people that are struggling with self-image or depression or addiction and things like that. Like they just want to feel happy and confident. They're looking for someone that they can relate to. And I think because I'm young, because I'm going through, sometimes I'm making videos and actively going, like I made a video about graduating high school the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
20 minutes after I graduated high school. And I'm making that video and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to them. But I think part of the reason so many people appreciated what I was saying is because it's from the perspective of somebody that is going through the exact same things that they're going through. Yeah.
Right now.
And so it's that relatability that it's like someone can resonate with that more. It's like if someone was trying to get into fitness and they could either watch the YouTuber who used to be like a world-class bodybuilder and he's 58 years old and this is some kid that is 15, been gaming all of his life. He's super overweight. And you have this dude who's jacked up on TRT and stuff. And then there's also the 17-year-old kid who gamed his whole life, but has been working out for 2 years. that guy's likely going to relate to the 17-year-old
Oh,
more.
hell yeah, much more, yeah.
And that's why you don't have to be super experienced. You don't have to have a degree, because I have no, what's the word? Like when you have degrees and stuff to validate.
Oh, yeah, well, the credentials.
Credentials, yes. I don't have any credentials to talk about what I'm talking about, other than my own experience in the way I talk about life and my outlook on life and my opinions, and in how I talk to the followers, the people that listen to me. That's it. That's the only thing. But now that is the only thing that matters. It's being genuine is the only thing that actually matters to growing.
Yeah.
That's it.
I remember I had a conversation with you because I asked you for advice about it as well, because I knew that you were like actively making these videos consistently and you already had like a huge amount of following. One of the main reasons why I stopped making the podcast regardless was because I felt as if I didn't have the actual credentials to, or experience enough to talk about the shit that I was like actually talking about and that I was going through. But you saying that the other, like I was talking to my friend Nick once again to bring him up. He was like, it doesn't matter because you're talking actually from experience. Yeah. You're saying what helped you, what you're going through right now, and how like you're trying to better yourself for the future. That is all the experience. That's all the credentials that you actually need, because as a 20-year-old person, 18-year-old in your sense, these people don't have a lot of people to listen to that are going through the same shit as themselves. Yes. So they need a voice. They need somebody to speak for them. And that is where you have to step up. You have to throw that fucking anxiety away, because if you know you have the power and you want to have that power and you fucking deserve to have that power, because you have to believe it. Yeah. If you don't believe it, then it's not gonna fucking work. Let's be serious. Oh, yeah. So you have to like truthfully fucking be sure in yourself, and then boom, like that was what I realized like after that conversation that I had, well, I mean with you, but then after like the conversation that I had with my friend, because this was, I'm not even joking to you, like less than a week we had this, and I was like, yeah, dude, it's fucking go time. Yeah. So I was just like, it doesn't matter what I post, like as long as I'm posting and I'm speaking from like legitimate fucking experience and from the bottom of my heart, that's all that matters.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's like you can find tons of dating coaches online that will give great advice, and they're like 45 and they don't blow up. And I'm 18, been in a handful of relationships and situationships and stuff like that, but I blew up off of like, I used to drop dating videos all the time and they would blow up. Yeah. And it's not because I knew more than that 45-year-old.
Hell no.
Not even close. No. It's just the fact that I know exactly how it feels in this current age to be a high schooler trying to get with this girl that you like, but this is the problem. I know exactly how that felt, so I could 100% resonate with how they were feeling and deliver it in the exact way that would be most appealing to those type of viewers, if that makes sense.
The one thing that scares me about that, like the fact that we're able to get such a big following regardless, is like how vulnerable and desperate men are for actual attention, or not attention, number one, but also just the advice. Like that's scary. That's just sad.
I think it was intentional to be like that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously, like that's the point. Yeah. So it's wild, because I started thinking about that and I was like, the fact, and this is like actually saying this in a positive manner towards you, the fact that people need you in general is like kind of scary. Yeah. Like that's how
I 100% get what you mean.
That is how fucking desperate us men are. Yeah. It's for validation. But it's terrifying.
I mean, when you really think, I think this might be a little bit of like the separation too, with like the older generations, or even with like women our age. They don't understand like genuinely how sucky the average dude's life is. God, like most girls like do not pay attention to you at all. Most of the time you're overweight, you're unhappy, you're depressed. You're probably either working a job or headed towards a job once you get out of school that you don't really like. You have no purpose or anything like that. You're probably addicted to porn. You're probably addicted to some type of drug or alcohol. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? You're broke.
Yeah, you're probably broke.
Like it's terrible. It is genuinely terrible. So yeah,
I don't know. It's a slippery slope. But do you ever feel as if there's a lot of like weight on your back, or do you just know like you're fucking carrying that shit? As in carrying like the team on your back, not like weight in a sense.
Yeah. You mean with what I'm doing, like business wise and content creation wise?
Well, yeah. Do you think that I'm trying to think of the proper way to say this, but like, do you think that you like need, I'm trying to properly say this, like it is your job. Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I get what you mean. No, not really.
Okay.
I always kind of there are certain things that you can teach somebody that whether or not they do them, it wouldn't negatively impact their life.
Yes.
Right.
Nice.
Like
Okay.
I can say to a dude that is in that type of situation, like we were just explaining, if I'm showing them how to quit pornography, I'm showing them a skincare routine, or I'm showing them how to lift so they can feel more confident in themselves, or I'm showing them how to properly eat so that they can lose weight and see their six pack. There's nothing bad about that video that could harm. Oh, my bad. That could harm their life.
Yeah, no, seriously.
And that's where most of my videos kind of fall in there. And then it's the controversial ones where I'm talking about religion or spirituality or I mean, there's some like dating videos, stuff like that are controversial, but like generally most of the things I say can't have a negative impact. They'll only have a positive if you do them.
Yeah.
So
no, that's a really good way of putting it, because I started making TikToks recently, and it was mocking like the Fresh and Fit guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like mocking the like true alpha, like the alpha.
Oh,
methods.
Dude, I was so happy you said that it was satire, because I was.
It's satire.
Right,
it's satire.
good.
Oh,
Dude,
1000%. Yes.
I called the mutual friend that introduced us.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is satire, right? He was like, I'm 99% sure it's satire. He's like, but you never know with Brandon.
Yeah.
Never
Oh no,
sure.
it's 100%
Yeah, okay.
satire. Dude, I was like sleep on the warm side of the pillow, bro. Like, come on, dude, that's fucking satire.
Yeah.
The other one that I said was recent. That was like funny as fuck too. Just because I was like, these guys are saying the most nonsensical things I've ever heard.
Some of the stuff they say is genuinely good, because in essence, some of like the very basic of their message is try not to focus on women too much, get in the gym, focus on getting money, and like becoming financially a little bit more independent.
That's
great advice.
Yes.
And then it's just like, it's the things that you start to pay attention to where you're like, wow, this is really good. Maybe I should listen to them more. And then they're like, and that was what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, cheating is okay because the Titanic was sinking. So
yeah, dude, I said, what was the one that I said? It was never apologize to anyone because you wouldn't want to lower your ego. Like, not even your family. Like, bro, like the crazy thing is, I say, like, it's obviously satire, but the fact is people will like actually listen to that shit.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's good and bad. It's mixed in. That's why you just need to be able to differentiate,
it's
the good and the bad.
Yeah,
as long as you can do that and you're, free thinking you'll be all right.
Well, yeah, as long as you're able to like actually use your brain. But the thing is, people are so desperate that it doesn't matter like what Andrew Tate says, because he says these good things, because he does say good things.
Yeah.
He says these fucking outlandish things, and people are going to listen to any word that he says.
The other part that people need to realize too is Andrew Tate or Fresh and Fit or any of the, like any big creator in any niche.
Yeah.
At some point they have to stay relevant for their business to keep growing. So sometimes they're going to say out of pocket stuff.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
So that everyone's like, oh my, that's great. And then everybody talks about it. And then more people go view the podcast. More people go look at their business. More people go look at their webs. Like, there's a business aspect to a lot of the stuff that they say, especially the more radical stuff. It's like they need attention. Yeah. Which isn't like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I understand it. It's why I started to say more controversial things, or my controversial opinions, because I wanted to stay relevant. Like I did. So I get it.
Anything that is opinionated, where if you say something different, then people are automatically going to disagree with you. So that's why I started to do movie reviews, music reviews, because I know that I have a different taste than most people. So what I'll do is like, I'll watch a movie, and just because a movie is like, has a lot of like really good ratings, that doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to like it. And a lot of these kinds of things I don't really like. And I know that because they have a lot of really good reviews, most people believe that it's good. So if you disagree with it and you say it in the correct manner, you're going to piss a lot of people off. And when you piss a lot of people off, you get comments, which automatically means more views. So I've been like doing that recently with movies. And honestly, I kind of look at myself and like, and not in a hypocritical sense, but I only really watch movies with high ratings, because I know if a lot of people like it, then more than likely I'm going to like it, because I obviously have a similar brain to most people that watch these good movies. So I'm not going to watch a really shitty movie with bad ratings because most people think it's bad. But that doesn't mean just because it has high ratings, I'm automatically going to like it.
Yeah.
So I let these people guide me to what most people like, and then I create my own opinion based on it.
Yep.
So that's what I usually do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. Yeah.
Yeah, but people are so fucking stupid. And I saw something today, and I'm really glad we brought this up, was Tyler, the Creator. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not a big Tyler, the Creator
I think he's
fan.
ass.
Yeah, I think he's fucking shit
Yeah,
as well.
I think he's terrible.
Yeah,
bro.
there's some good songs. I like to Call Me If You Get Lost, but like his other shit, I mean, other than like some old songs, I think he's fucking terrible. Yeah. Regardless, I saw him on a podcast. It was a clip that came out yesterday, and he said all of these 17-year-old people who just got hair on their dick are saying Enter the Wu-Tang and like Ready or Not are their favorite albums of all time. And he's like, bro, you're 17 years old. Go listen to fucking Young Boy and Lil Baby. Like all this kind of shit. And it's like all of these people, whether or not their favorite, I mean, if your favorite album actually is like Ready or Not, or whatever it might be, good for you. But a lot of it is performative, and they're only saying that so they feel as if they're like being a part of a bigger group. So these people are only listening like to these old albums, and they're saying they like these old albums because they're, because they're popular. But he said it himself, and like I fucking love that he said this. He said, I don't care that, I'm just going to say like a really popular movie, I don't care that Goodfellas is objectively the greatest movie of all time. I want to know what your favorite movie is. My favorite movie is fucking Good Burger. Good Burger's got some...
Never even seen it.
Dude, amazing. It was like some Nickelodeon movie with Keenan and Kel from like the 90s. It was really stupid, but I love it. Like, it's my favorite movie of all time. Because I have so much...
I'd probably put Goodfellas up there. Like,
well, yeah, good.
Maybe in my top 3. I'd probably put number 1.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'd probably put my number 1. This is either something like everyone's gonna... you're either gonna be, I 100% like agree or I understand, or it's gonna be like, hell no.
Let me take a guess. Wolf of Wall Street?
No.
Oh, let's go.
Interstellar.
I'm playing.
Interstellar.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's a good take.
See, yeah.
See, I don't mind that take, because that's not you saying some like 1992 black and white film where people are just like walking down the street for 7 hours. No, I'm saying like that. Those are movies that people will say their favorite movies all time is.
Yeah.
You're telling me you're gonna enjoy that? Fuck no.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So I think that like, if you actually share your opinion, because everybody has differing opinions, they're just afraid to show them. I don't care who you are. If you share your opinion on the internet, you will end up getting views.
Yeah.
Because you're not like, obviously we're all similar to each other, but everyone has something differing than other people.
Most people are scared to project either their true opinions or feelings or outlook on life because they don't want to be judged, and especially when they're younger. Because think about, I don't know how you felt when you were in high school, but if you would have said like your most outlandish, radical opinions on the internet, it went viral, and then you went to school the next day and people had to talk to you about what you said. Yeah. That happened to me every day for 2 years.
Oh, dude, like, that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is that obviously if people are willing to actually hear you out and listen to you, that is a real person. Yeah. That's like a real ass friend. Yeah. Because you could say whatever the fuck you want, but if you're able to say, hey, like I agree with this and you might disagree with me and we're still able to be friends about it, that's all you need.
Yeah. 100%.
It doesn't go anything deeper than that. Yep. Like unless it's actually fucking radical. Yeah. But
I don't think I have any radical
exactly. I don't think you do either. I mean, I don't have any radical takes either.
Yeah.
Other than like I think some. One thing yesterday. I watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight last night.
Okay.
And people call The Dark Knight the greatest movie, literally of all time.
It's very good. Heath Ledger's amazing.
He is.
But I
liked Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight.
Really?
Yes. Because Batman Begins had the actual origin story of Batman, and I just loved the story. The vibe was like, it felt a lot more darker than The Dark Knight actually was. Like, The Dark Knight was a dark vibe, but I feel like the movie was more bright, but Batman, it just felt like evil. But like, it was a Sigma presence, and I fucking hate Sigma movies. Like, I hate alpha movies. I hate all that shit. I hate American Psycho. I
didn't really like it.
Yeah. Right. I hate Drive. I like Nightcrawler. Yeah, but these are like Sigma movies. I fucking hate them. But like Batman Begins was fire.
I feel you.
But yeah. Nah, I don't know. That shit's weird. I do want to go back to the buzz cut thing though, because I mean, we touched on it a tiny bit, but what has it actually done for you? Nothing.
No. It looks nice.
It looks nice?
It made me realize I had a nice hairline. That was about it. Like, genuinely, it really didn't do anything for me. Mm-hmm. I kind of just wanted to put in the video some reasoning behind it because I figured either one, it'll kind of convince someone to do it, And if they've been slacking off in their life because self-improvement content creator, maybe doing that is like a symbol of changing the direction of their life. So maybe they just do that, and that might sound corny, but like it's just like that process of doing that is also like switching that mentality in their brain to then go, chase something higher or like improve themselves.
Yep.
But also it's just so that it would piss some people off, and they'd be like, I don't have a buzz cut and I'm motivated. This dude's retarded, and it's good for views. Sometimes some things are just for views.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's what I love so much about social media is you could just say whatever the fuck you want, piss people off, give views about it.
Yep.
And that's the end of the day.
When you get hate comments, does it bother you?
It used to, only when I would, I got a lot of hate comments on me saying that I didn't like the Kendrick Lamar video, or that I didn't like Kendrick Lamar's new album, and when I didn't like Tyler, the Creator, because those are two things that people feel very passionate about. Those are two artists that if you attack them, people will fucking go at your life.
Yeah.
So when I was saying that and people were doing hate comments, I would say it kind of bothered me in the sense of just why are you attacking me as a person? And not the actual opinion.
Yeah.
But then I realized it is, like you said, projection. And it obviously still kind of stings a tiny bit. But the fact that people are saying that in the first place, I came out with a video recently and it was one of the fucking alpha things. And it was obviously a satire, a joke. And a guy said I'd turn this video off within the first 3 seconds. I was like, I didn't even comment, but I was like, dude, you literally commented on my fucking account.
Yeah. I used to get some of those every now and then. Yeah.
So I mean, it used to hurt, but now that I'm more secure in myself and I'm actively and I know what I'm doing, because back then when I didn't really know what I was doing and I didn't feel as if I had the proper credentials or the proper experience to say something and then someone would attack that, it would hurt. But now that I feel more secure in the sense of okay, well, now I'm actually actively seeking something, the fact that I have haters is kind of cool. It feels good.
I feel you. Yeah.
So yeah, what about you?
Yeah, it used to, well, not anymore, but it used to bother me so much that I would not only just respond, but I would roast the shit out of them back.
Oh, okay.
I would take time out of my day, and then that's kind of when I realized it was just so energy depleting to do that. And you can pretty much pertain that to anybody that's negative in your life. You just realize once you cut it out and you stop doing it, you realize how much time and energy you were wasting on it. And after that, yeah, like I said earlier, it is projection.
Yep.
If someone leaves a hate comment either about what you're doing or just about you in general, it's because there's something so lacking in them that they took the time to watch your video, get so mad, scroll down to the comment section, type out something they thought was going to hurt you, and then go, this will get them, and then send.
That's crazy.
That's how unhappy they are. So you just can't really worry about it.
Nah, that actually is terrifying that people are doing that. When you really put it into perspective.
I got a question for you. Completely switching the topic.
Yeah, of course.
But it could be interesting depending on where your opinion is. So thoughts on body count?
Perfect. Okay. This is dangerous. This is dangerous because people are gonna judge, but I have my opinions.
Okay. You don't have to share yours, by the way. I meant when you're looking for a partner. Maybe I should be a little bit. When you're looking for a partner, does body count matter?
Yes.
It does matter.
Yes.
Is there a certain number that you just wouldn't go over, or is it more depends on the situation type thing?
It really depends on the situation, because when I look at body count, I had a conversation with a girl actually about this, and we actually came to a proper conclusion that women, for the most part, can have sex with I don't want to say any man that they want, but women can have sex with a lot more men per capita than men can have sex with women.
Yep.
So it is a lot easier for a woman to just fuck any man that she wants than a man can just fuck any woman that he wants.
Yeah.
And we had this entire conversation about how a man has to work and put in the effort, the texting all day, and then I had a conversation with this girl and I said, if you texted one of these guys that is in your phone, you said, come over right now, he would be in his car, drive to your crib, would be here in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If I said, come over right now, the girl would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'd probably get blocked. Like, I'm serious. So I think that there's different ways of looking at it. And it's dangerous because, like, I don't want anyone. I had to actually, no, I'm going to say this properly. I told a girl, I said, just don't fuck a loser. You know who a loser is. Yeah. When you look at a guy and you actually, like, pinpoint him, whether or not he has drive, whether or not he's a good-looking dude, whether or not he has a successful future for him, if he doesn't, why are you giving him the time of your day?
Yeah.
Do not fuck him. Like, you are just going to boost this loser's ego. But if you are actually, like, having sex with a guy that has, like, a future going for him, he obviously takes care of himself, good for you. Like, that is where I don't mind who you're fucking unless you're just fucking a bot, bro. Like, just don't fuck a bot.
It hurts worse if you found out, like,
yes,
maybe you've been in that experience where you found out, like, who it was, not just how many,
yes,
and you find it is just somebody just.
Oh, it rips your heart out, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. Like, really? So I have no issue if you're fucking, like, cool guys, but if you're fucking bots, bro, I'm gonna look at you like you're crazy. But that's the same thing with a guy.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, if you're just fucking somebody who's, like, actually disgusting, I'm going to be like, all right, bro, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost, no, not almost. It is worse to get with somebody like that rather than just not get with anybody. Well, actually, to me, I think it's actually good if you don't get with anybody and you put your standards way up.
I agree.
think that's a good thing.
I agree.
In fact, I'd even say that in order to have a high body count, you have to intrinsically lower your standards in order to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you have a certain level of woman or man that you date, moral wise, looks wise, drive wise. I'm trying to think of, like, just every type of things, criteria. Yeah. You have to drop and go below that in some form or fashion in order to actually hook up with a large amount of people. Because if your standards are high enough, then there's not going to be that many people that fit that. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's my take, because I've found out that girls have, like, fuck these bots, and I was like, if I'm, it's just nasty. It's very disappointing because, like, I put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, hear me out. If I was a girl, would I fuck them? If I, okay, that's a weird way to put it. Like, excuse me?
Sorry.
No, but, like,
I know what you mean.
Like,
it's
seriously.
just like, you got to throw a pause in there.
Pause, yes.
Yeah.
If I was a girl, would I fuck them? Pause. And it's like, yeah. Like, not the no.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah,
100%.
I don't know. It's just, it's wild. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Pause.
I felt like it was an interesting topic, so I wanted to see your opinion. But.
Yeah, is there anything else, like, fucking weird that you wanted to discuss?
Nah.
Is there any, like, hot takes that you have?
Hot takes. Ooh, that one would get me canceled.
All good.
Yes, but I can't say them. Yeah.
All right. Can you bring up the topic? I guess if you bring up the topic, then your hot take's probably going to be assumed.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. So, I don't really have any.
I guess we'll begin the wrap up. Just a couple questions about you. What are your goals for the future? Is there anything actually set out with what you want?
I want to be able to create I want to be able to make more of an impact with content and with helping people online. So I want to create a community that I can get, like, something that is entirely not tied to the internet and, well, that doesn't, it's going to be online, but not tied to social media, or if I say something that will piss people off, they could delete my account and it's gone. Yeah. Something that is 100% like, at any point, this person that is really likes me and resonates with what I have to say, signs up to this, gets in, and then no matter what happens with my social media or anything, like they can find my content and I can help them like one-on-one. Like that's something I want to do. So I'm in the process of creating like an exclusive community for my followers where it'll be like, imagine a bunch of exclusive content, kind of like a Patreon. That's the first part of it. But then it was also like live streams where I bring in these dudes that I've met, like my network, stuff like that, so they can talk with them, they can ask them questions, and you can get direct access to me and my network anytime you want. Nice. That's kind of like the essence and the goal of it. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, ideally, if once that gets big enough, I would like to do in-person meetings. Once I have more time and that's all set up and going, YouTube, podcasts, just try and blow up.
Mm-hmm. What about the entrepreneur side of it? Is there anything planned that you have with that? Any businesses that you're working on?
Well, that's the community I'm talking about. That'll be like a subscription. Mm-hmm. We haven't figured out a price point yet on it, but that'd be like a monthly subscription. I still have Blue Line Jewelry, which is the jewelry company I've run for about 2 years now. One-on-one consulting, but that's going to kind of end once the community comes out because it's very time consuming to do that. And it's also, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of mentally draining to listen to people's problems for like hours at a time each day. It's draining. So
how much do you cost for that?
It depends on where they're at financially, their age, because I'm not going to charge like a 15-year-old the same as I'm charging my 25-year-old client. Yeah. But typically it's a 5-week process. And it's anywhere between like $1 to $3 grand, $1 to $4 grand.
Wow, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. No way, bro.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yep. So, yeah, that's business, grow the business. Once I get enough income, I want to make a absurd amount before I move. Then I want to try go living in Charleston, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Maybe try Miami, west coast of Florida. And yeah, we'll just see where it goes. But I might, once my shoulder's healed up too, probably going to get into Muay Thai.
Nice.
Start learning that.
Is that kickboxing?
It's like kickboxing. Yeah. It's just, not kickboxing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I might mess around and run a marathon at this point.
Really?
I might just do it.
Nice.
Do it. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at the rest of the year.
And then I guess this is more on a personal level. When you're doing something and you just want to stop, what keeps you going? Is there a voice in your head? Is it God? What is it? Do you have like David Goggins, like whispering?
Sometimes David Goggins pops in my head. Who's gonna carry the boats? Yeah. But honestly, there's this quote by this entrepreneur. His name's like Alex Hermonzi. Ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
So I'll be honest. Part of the reason I resonate with my followers, like I was talking about earlier, is because I went through the same things that they went through. So I used to struggle with confidence or self-image or social anxiety, any of these things. Like I used to struggle with this. So one of the things he said that always resonated with me is you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You become confident from having so much undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And so if I'm a content creator and I'm pushing these messages of strength, of masculinity, of striving for more, of purpose, going for your best self, that's basically the essence of self-improvement in my message. I can't not do the stuff that I tell other people to do. Does that make sense?
Oh, like, yeah, 100%. Yeah. You'd almost be a fraud.
Every time I don't feel like doing something, I purposely go do it because I want to prove not just to them, but to me and younger me that this is who I am.
Yeah.
So anytime I don't feel like going for a run and running a few miles, I purposely go do it. Anytime I didn't feel like going to the gym, I go to the gym. Or anytime I don't feel like sitting down and scripting out some long ass video that's going to go in the community that's like an hour and a half long. Yep. And I have to script it out and write 10 pages of script and then sit down and record it. You probably mess up once or twice, and then you have to start it over again. It's a few hour process. It kind of sucks, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, it's what I need to do.
No, I mean, it's also what you sign up for. Because like I said, you'd be a fraud if you didn't.
Yeah.
You'd be giving all these people advice on how to live their life, but you don't live that yourself.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
no, I definitely respect that.
Yeah.
So I guess one more question. When did the actual like self-awareness, because I mean, you seem like obviously not an anxious person, that kind of shit. Like, when did you find out like how to actually beat that, or not beat it, because everyone always has like some sort of something within the back of their head. At what age did you actually like become more aware of it, and what personally, like, how did you personally beat it for the most part?
In terms of like social anxiety and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the first thing was feeling better about myself, because I think how you project yourself to other people is exactly how you feel. Just like the people that leave a hate comment is it's just because of the inner hate that they have in themselves. It's just projected out. So going to the gym, starting to go to the gym with my brother, even though I wasn't really making any gains, it was the fact that I was getting in the gym around all these other dudes that obviously had been doing it a lot longer and looked the way, like, do you remember, I'm about to name drop, you remember Joe, like the coach over at Poly? He was a teacher, but he was also a coach.
Yes.
That dude was like ripped. But I kind of like thought about it. I was like, if I do this on a long enough time frame, I can look like that guy. Yeah. And so that started to do it. And then I started to cut out the things that made me feel negative about myself or about the world. And I started to fill that with positive things.
Okay.
Right. That was another big piece of it. Obviously you just being more social, right? The more that you do it, the less that you realize it's not a big deal, and that anxiety kind of fades. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately it was like, part of the reason my social anxiety kind of got bad is because there was a fear of rejection. And once I got religious, I knew that God accepted me. God knew who I was. Mm-hmm. So the idea of another man not approving of me no longer bothered me. It's why the comments stopped bothering me, or when you get a hate DM, or there's someone that says like some sneak stuff in person. It's whatever. Yep. Like, it really doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So
it's a good way of putting it. My thing that I've learned is, if you don't tell somebody that you're anxious, and it's kind of like a fake it till you make it approach. So if you just portray a level of confidence, even if you don't necessarily feel it, mm-hmm. it's very hard for people to pick up on it. If you are like, you could just be a good actor, and once you're good enough acting, like, you are seriously who you portray that you are. Yeah. So I'll like I'll start a conversation. I might be a little anxious, but then like, I'll not show those nerves. I won't say, I'm like anxious as fuck right now, because if you say that you're anxious as fuck right now, then people are
you like identify with it too. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a great point. It just popped in my mind. This is actually the first podcast I've ever done. And at the beginning of this episode, I almost felt like I was wondering in my mind as I was talking to you. I was like, am I speaking too fast? Mm-hmm. Or like, does my voice sound off? How do I sound in this headset, right? Like, I started to have those thoughts. And one thing I know, I've just made a video about this the other day. If you notice the times when you have the most anxiety, or you're the most anxious, the most nervous, your breath work, or like how you're breathing, is always shorter, right? Yeah. Like, it's always like quick and fast paced. Just like if you grew up in a neighborhood or anything like that, and you had like a rabbit in your backyard, is a really weird example, but you're right. Like, if you try and creep up on it and it like realizes that you're there and it like stays still, but you can like see that it's breathing faster and faster before it runs, you're almost like putting yourself into the fight or flight mode. So then you can't even be present in the moment to have that conversation. And like, the only thing that you're focused on is that anxiety. So that might've been another thing too, is like, I just focus on breathing in full and taking up the space that I need and taking the time, because I think when you do that, you get present. When you get present, you don't have those social problems. Everything
about being present is better in life.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I legitimately, I was sitting on my couch at like 12 at night and 1 o'clock at night. And I swear to God, I think I'm a philosopher sometimes, because I just have these like random thoughts pop in my head. And I was like, I don't think life is any better when you're not like legitimately calm. if you, I mean, obviously, like, there's a difference between playing fucking football and
Right.
basketball.
I know what you mean, but yeah.
I'm saying when you are in a normal situation where you are maybe at work, when you are doing a podcast, when you're in bed, when you're working on whatever it is, if you are able to fully take in a breath and you are actively calm and you are just doing what you are doing, and there's nothing in the back of your head, telling yourself that you are whatever it might be, life is just always going to be better.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that's there telling you otherwise, and you don't care what it is because you are fully focused on what you are doing in that moment.
100%. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. People, man.
That actually wasn't bad, too. What's your longest podcast?
3 hours.
Damn.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Who was it?
It was with this girl. It was with these two girls. It was Lauren and Callie. Honestly, we just had we talked about something for an hour, but then I'm not even joking. I'm very passionate about movies. So we started talking about movies, and we started talking about movies for like an hour and 30 minutes. So yeah,
I gotcha.
It hit.
Yeah.
But those are always fun conversations, but obviously I love these like fucking meaningful, like actually therapeutic learning sessions.
I like movies and video games, TV shows, sports. I like all of that. But yeah, it's a lot cooler to have conversations about like a little bit more meaningful stuff.
Meaningful shit. Also, before we end, one more question. I saw that you put something on your story on Instagram, and it was about how exercising and going to the gym is more effective than therapy. Do you have beef with therapy?
No, I don't have beef with therapy, but I think this is gonna be controversial,
dude.
I think most people in our generation aren't actually depressed. I think it's the food that they eat, the lack of exercise. I think it's the lack of sunlight, vitamin D, the lack of nutrients that they're not getting from the food that they're eating, from supplements, whatever it is. I think it's these lack of or being in a negative, toxic environment. They're constantly consuming negative music or negative media, or constantly watching the news and constantly looking at all the things that are bad. And so when you're constantly focused on those things and you're constantly eating this bad food and you're not working out, and then you look in the mirror and you're unhappy with how you look, and you're taking these negative thoughts that you've been consuming all day, then you project them onto yourself, and that just becomes an endless cycle.
Yep.
And then on top of that, most people our age, which is normal because it takes time, but most people don't have any sort of purpose whatsoever. So when you have no sort of purpose, all you do is dwell on that, and it makes it worse and worse. And I think generally and genuinely, pretty much any gym bro could tell you this. If you started eating better and you ate less super processed foods, like the Doritos bag, when you turn it over and there's 50
Red
ingredients
40.
in the back. Yeah. And red 40 and stuff. Yeah. And you started eating more stuff that the ingredient is the thing. Potato is potato, broccoli is broccoli, and you ate grass-fed beef and stuff like that all the time, and you started working out or going for runs or just going for walks and sitting out in the sun and hanging around positive people, and the music that you listen to was about how happy they are and how positive things are, and you turn off like the news and shit because that's just terrible. I don't even, you're a bot if you're actually watching like mainstream news.
I 100% agree.
I think 99% of the people in our generation, if they did that, they'd feel better within a few weeks.
Yeah, I'd agree. I learned so I've been taking a I already finished it. I ended with an A, like a 98, so I'm pretty happy about that. But I took a nutrition class in college, and it was the class that I learned the most shit that I've ever learned in my entire life about. And it was basically just teaching you what everything does, what protein, carbs, fats do, but it taught about what having a deficiency in all those did. Mm-hmm. So it taught us about epigenetics, which, do you know what epigenetics are? Mm-hmm. So this, you'd actually find this interesting too, because you could talk about it. And it's if you put yourself in certain environments, and that could be either like you actively being somewhere or the food that you eat. So if you eat healthier foods and you get the phytochemicals from vegetables and fruits, your body will unlock. I'm just going to use the word unlock. It'll unlock genes in your body in order to be like better. Like it'll be more healthier. It'll make you more happier.
That's
obviously.
wild.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. So like if you end up looking it up, it'll show you. So
what's it called?
Epigenetics.
Epigenetic.
Yeah. EPI genetics.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm obviously saying a very shortened version of it,
Right.
but if you look into it, it's like very interesting.
Right.
So there's that. And then we learned about, once again, having deficiencies in certain vitamins actually does for the body. And we had to log all the food that we ate for 3 days. And it was like our most general days. So it's like, if we eat fucking Doritos, we put the Doritos. Everything that we ate, all the water that we drank, all that shit.
Right.
And it would tell you what your deficiencies are. And when I learned like what not having fruits and vegetables does for your body, and what I learned that like what these phytochemicals and the actual like shit that's in fruit does for your body, and I never used to eat fruits and vegetables.
Right.
I started eating fruits and vegetables. I stopped eating like white rice. I started eating brown rice. I started eating like whole grains, all this kinds of shit. Like I started feeling so much better because your body just actually digests everything so much easier. And I remember seeing you say it, and we learned about this in class too, is serotonin and dopamine are built in the gut.
Yeah.
Like they are all created in the gut.
Most of the nerve endings in your body actually are in the gut. Like your gut dictates how you feel more than your brain.
No, it's actually insane.
Yeah.
So if you are eating healthier foods, you are going to be fucking happier. Like it is basically scientifically proven.
Yeah.
And that is why you're supposed to be doing this shit. And that's why America's so fucking depressed and fat, because all this stuff is so easily. Like,
when you start learning about nutrition too, this is probably one of the biggest, I guess you call it a revelation I ever had. I thought fat people I used to like kind of be annoyed by fat people for a while because I thought if you were just fat, you were just lazy. But that's not true, like at all. No. So when you actually start learning about hormones and insulin and ghrelin, and there's another one, but there's a type of hormone that's leptin that signals to your brain when you're full.
Yes.
So when you start to eat all of these foods that are highly processed, that have either high carb, high sugar, which is just a type of carb, or they're low fat, which means low fat. Oh, it's healthy, which is really
low
just
fat
like
is not that healthy.
It's a cope because really they just fill it with sugar and carbs.
Yeah, with more carbs.
And all of that spikes your insulin, which slows your leptin, which means you naturally eat more and you feel less full. So when you start to learn that, and then you start to change your diet so that you're eating the more natural foods, so that your insulin stays lower, so that your leptin hits your brain faster. And then when you also learn that ghrelin is just, it's basically what makes you feel hungry. Yep. That's basically what it does. And it just spikes at the times that you normally eat.
Yeah.
So just because you feel hungry, it's why you can be super hungry and then after an hour, it just fades. It doesn't just progressively get more and more hungry to the point like where you couldn't stand it. Yeah. It's just because that ghrelin went up, and then this is a normal time that you eat, and then that time kind of passed, so then it went back down. Mm-hmm. That's it.
The one thing that our professor taught us, because she was an actual like RD, like registered dietitian.
Right.
She would tell us, she said, the one thing that I want you to get out of this class is mindful eating. And mindful eating doesn't mean like, it's exactly knowing your triggers and eating and stopping when you are full. Mm-hmm. Because most people, and it's such a thing in society where if you don't finish the food on your plate, you're like ostracized for it. Yeah. If you are full, stop eating.
Yeah.
When you are like actively hungry and not appetite, like truthfully fucking hungry, eat. Yep. Eat until you are full and then stop eating.
Yeah.
But people don't do that because there's such a thing in society where it's like, oh yeah, you're just going to leave that on your plate. Like,
yeah. You know, it's something that's even crazier. It kind of pertains to diet, but testosterone levels. Have you seen these studies that testosterone has dropped like 50% over the last 50 years? Have you seen this?
Shit,
yeah.
no.
So in the average man, at least in Western countries, America, UK, stuff like that, it's dropped 50%. So the average, when they first made the technology to track how much testosterone was in your body, the average man it was in the 1940s. The average man had like 1,000 mg, whatever
Isn't it like 400 now?
Yeah, the average is 400 to 500. So the reason there's a lot of reasons you could say it's dropped, but one that I found incredibly interesting is there's a study that a doctor did. Do you know what BPA is in plastic?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So he took a group of these like Japanese fish and he put them in a tank, and there's one tank that's going to be like the control group and then the one that they're going to like do stuff to. So in the one that they're going to do stuff to, they took a large amount of BPA and they just put it in the water. So they mixed it in and then they left it with the fish. And then after like 7 days or something like that, they pull it out. They refilter all the water, give them a bunch of clean water. And then you have this tank that they just did that with, and then the clean one. And then they had them, they wait for them to repopulate and all of that. And when that finally like happened, 50% of the ones in the BPA one were infertile. Yeah. And then the generation after that, it was half of that. And then they stopped it, I think, after that third generation. But by then, they had almost made this fish species go extinct just from BPA. And there's BPA in almost everything. And then companies started to add BPA free on a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. But really, there's like PPA and there's a bunch of different shit in plastic, which all lowers your testosterone. Man, I can go down the rabbit hole. And I just made a video like yesterday for the community on this. Like, I think it's going to come out to like probably 2 hours long, just talking about testosterone. So I can go down the rabbit hole on this one, but yeah, it's wild.
Nah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's I remember what we learned about with the epigenetic shit too was there's different types of cancer, and well, I mean obviously, but there's malignant tumors, which if you have malignant tumors, they will go all over your body, and that's the actual cancer that you like everyone knows is cancer. And then there's benign tumors, which is just a abnormal growth of just tissue, and it's like not really a dangerous tissue. Right. It can like bother you wherever it is, but for the most part, it's not going to spread. But there was something that talked about with the epigenetics, and it was if you have 25, like if you just eat strawberries or if you eat certain foods, it will lower like your cancer, reduce cancer growth, whatever the word would be. Mm-hmm. Like the actual chances that you get about like 25% just by getting the phytochemicals that are in like certain fruits and vegetables.
Dang.
Yeah, because it'll, I don't want to use the word unlock because I can't think of what it is, but it'll like unlock shit in your body. But yeah, like once again, sorry, I just want to mention that again because I thought of that.
Ah, you're good.
The testosterone shit, I started taking Tongkat Ali.
Oh yeah, I think I made a video about that like a few months ago. Yeah, people, there's a Dr. Huberman from...
Oh, I know Huberman, yeah.
Stanford that talked about it in a video, and apparently from the studies, you can look them up, testosterone can be raised like 400 milligram or however they track it in like a short span of time just from taking this. So yeah, I've been on that. I cycle it too.
You cycle?
Yeah, you're supposed to cycle it.
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways you can do it. Some people recommend doing like 3 weeks on, a week off.
Okay.
And then some people just say take it during the week, 5 days, weekend off, and then you just take it all the time like that. Then you don't have to have like a week off. But I think I'm pretty sure it's a tolerance thing. Like if you don't cycle it, then your body gets used to it, then you don't get the testosterone benefits. So you have to like cycle off of it like that. But, interesting. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to point out before we end up wrapping this up?
No, I'm good. All right. It was fun.
Yeah, that was a really good podcast. Yeah. 2 hours, 9 minutes, 48 seconds. People always say that you're supposed to like make the podcast 45 minutes, 30 minutes to be more accessible. Like, bro, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making these as long as I...
The first 30 to 45 minutes, I feel like we bullshit on this.
Yeah, no, we definitely bullshit.
Yeah, and then we got to the deeper conversations like halfway through. Yeah. And then at the end, we started talking about nutrition, like real nutrition stuff. So it's pretty good for a first pod, I won't lie.
No, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So. It's really... It comes down to, like, you being comfortable because... Not to talk myself up, but, like, you can be a really shitty podcast host, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And you, like, watch the people... be a podcast host and they just ask really fucking stupid questions. Yeah. But it's like if you know how to ask the right questions, if you know how to actually get to a conversation that both you and the other person are both interested in, that's all it is. It's really not that hard to be a podcast host. Yeah. You just know how to you just have to know how to have a conversation.
Good people skills.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
But that's why you're good at it, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep.
That will conclude episode. I don't even know what episode this is, but I'm just saying. I said 29 or 30. It was one of them, but that'll conclude this episode. But is there, how can people reach you? We'll just put that out there.
fs.ryanwalker on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, perfect. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you all good.
Appreciate it, man.
No problem. Usually I like the guests to press the red button to end it, but let's get it.